G'day! Today's video has been a long time coming. I've owned the MSI Delta 15 now for around about 6 months, and these are my particular likes about this laptop. It's got an RX 6700M 10GB model in there, a Ryzen 7 5800H, 16GB of RAM, 1TB NVMe SSD, and a 240Hz 1080 resolution or IPS-like panel. This one with the RX 6700M in there, 10GB version. It's 4GB more VRAM than any 3060 laptop out there, where they're all restricted to 6GB of VRAM, which I do find considerably low, even if it's in a laptop running at 1080 resolution. 6GB of VRAM with a 3060 seems to be a bit of a joke, especially considering the 4060 is meant to be rumoured to be coming out with 8GB. Certainly hope that is not the case. Anyway, the performance on the 6700M I find to be a tier above the 3060, possibly even very close to or above the 3060 Ti and 3070. The performance of it I've been extremely impressed with. No real dramas at all playing pretty much any game that I toss at it, especially with it running at 1080 resolution on this particular panel. Even though it's a 240Hz panel, I'm used to 144Hz panels. I'm not really seeing personally that much difference between 144 to 240Hz. Granted, it's probably a cheap 240Hz panel with a bit of ghosting going on, but either way, it seems to be really good value for money. The machine's got the gaming performance, but what is it like with battery performance? When you throttle everything back and just want to do the bare essentials, I found it to be extremely good. If I remember my test correctly, I got between 6 to 8 hours of video playback on YouTube using Wi-Fi, keyboard brightness turned off, and the screen dimmed down to about half brightness. With that, I find being able to recommend this particular machine as a gaming/school machine to be really easy. The Ryzen chip is very power efficient as opposed to the equivalent Intel chips that I've seen at the time, where all the Intel machines that I've tried with 3060s in them, they struggled to got 2 hours of battery life. This one here easily got 6 hours of battery life using Wi-Fi video playback. So I find it really easy to recommend if someone wants a particular machine like this to use for uni, use for school, definitely jump at it. No questions, it's been great. But the only way you get better is with a U-series machine or U-series processor in there, which is for ultra light stuff. Basically, you're expecting battery life from it, not gaming performance if you go down the path of one of those. Or something like a MacBook M1, where they're meant to have a ridiculous battery life. But for most people, this I can pull out, use for half an hour, turn off, put away, take it out a couple of days later, turn it on again, and I don't even really have to think about the battery for it for simple web browsing tasks. So definitely A+ on battery. Other thing I've liked about it, which is definitely a bit more unique, is the motherboard is flipped upside down. So typically I'm used to most laptops drawing air through the bottom, passing it through the top. This particular one seems to be doing it in reverse, where it's drawing the air down and through. And because it's drawing it down and through, I usually find a bit of a dust build-up happening on the various grills along here. Granted, that makes it easy to clean, wipe it down, keep going. I think the idea behind that is with most laptops, you're sitting them on a bench, on a table like this. If you're sitting them on a table, the dust is probably already on the table. Every time you turn it on, it's drawing the dust in, and it's getting dustier and dustier each time you turn it on. Where this is drawing it from the air that's just floating around above it, pushing it through, pushing it out the sides. So I find with that, cooling on it, it does get very hot at the top of the laptop. So it does have the potential to get hot around here, but most of the keys themselves are still fairly cool. So I find the cooling on this to be relatively efficient. Granted, I would classify it in the category of being medium to high in loudness. So if you want something that's very quiet, this may not be it. But also, if you're getting a gaming laptop, you're not really getting quiet. You may get quiet when you're web browsing, which I certainly do with this, because the performance level of it's so high that doing the minor things, it doesn't really need to spin those fans. But when you do want a game, it is going to ramp up those fans, as with any gaming laptop will. So I do find the cooling on it to be unique, interesting, overall pretty good. To summarise my positives, if you're after a machine that can do high performance but also give you decent battery life when you require it, the MSI Delta 15 has definitely ticked that box for me. and if you can find it at a relatively cheaper price as opposed to a 3060. So let's say you see a 3060 laptop at the equivalent price of this, I'd find it very hard to recommend the 3060 over the 6700M in the MSI Delta 15. The last 3-4 3060 machines I've had have been equally loud, has been basically lower performance and less battery life. So if you come across the MSI Delta 15 at the same price as a comparable 3060 laptop, definitely go the Delta 15. Anyway, been thoroughly enjoying this laptop. I'm actually struggling to get rid of it. I don't really want to sell it as it's playing everything that I've been tossing at it. I will hopefully get on something a bit newer soon, but for now I'm going to keep riding the MSI Delta 15 train as it has been very swell. Anyway, I'll catch you guys later. See you in another video. Bye.